For this course, Social Gospel, Ascending the Kingdom of God, I will research on the topic efforts of the social gospelers to reach out and save the people on the margin. But for this midterm, I'm going to focus on the women and social gospel as according to Nellie L. McClung. Nellie Letitia McClung's slogan was, "Never retreat, never explain, and never apologize. Get the thing done and let them howl." Nellie was an activist, a prominent campaigner in the successful drives of female suffrage in Manitoba and Alberta, a national feminist and a social reformer. The only women at Canadian War Conference of 1918 and the first women to represent Canadian Methodism at a World Ecumenical Council. In 1936, she became the first women member of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's Board of Governors, and in 1938, a Canadian delegate to the League of Nations. She wrote 16 books and several articles, which made her as one of the Canadians' best authors. Nellie McClung was born in 1873 in Grey Country, Ontario, and in 1880, with her family, joined the Great Rush to Manitoba Sweetfield. She died in Victoria on September the 1st, 1951. During her lifetime, Canada was going under great change. The economic, the social, and the political arena was not stable. Flourishing cities and rural areas rushed into the age of commercialized farming, immigrants and rural emigration, of industrial slums and rural hardship, of raising expectations and increasingly suspect business practiced endangered explosive instability. Feminism grew in the midst of this social ferment. Community was closely interrelated. Temperance, urban renewal, social welfare, and female suffrage were undertaken while the social gospel of the Protestant churches was promoting the entire society of self-examination. Nellie viewed that women's greatest sorrow was coming through her children, so as her great development. Women learned to cook so that their children might be fed. They learned to sew so that their children might be clothed. And women are learning to think so that children might be guided. The women's outlook of life is to serve, to care, to help. Men make wounds, and women bind them up. And so the women, with their hearts filled with love and sorrow, sit in their quiet homes and knit. Nellie advocated for the war which never ends. She declared war on all meanness, selfishness, great jealousies, all forms of injustice, all forms of special privileges, all selfishness, and all greed. She wanted people to drop bombs on prejudices, send submarines to blow up all poor little vanities, subterfuges, and consents with which people have endeavored to veil the trace of truth. Make a frontal attack on ignorance, laziness, doubt, despondence, despair, and unbelief. The banner which should be over us is love, and our watchword, a fair deal. Nellie McClung viewed motherhood as a sacred trust. Women must be made to feel their responsibilities. All this protective love must be organized in some way and made effective. The world should do away with all the evils which war upon childhood: undernourishment, slum conditions, child labor, and drunkenness. Women could abolish all this if they wanted to. The mothering idea was central to Nellie's feminism. She regarded motherhood as the highest achievement of her sex. McClung presented women's right as a traditional view of female moral superiority and maternal responsibility. Women must at last emerge from home and use their special talents to save and serve the race. McClung rejected the power line doctrine of feminine inferiority. According to Nellie McClung, the rise and fall of civilization depends on the intellectual and spiritual achievement of women. A feminism reflects the evangelical social reformers' perception of a civilization in need of redemption, and she believed that only women can be the redeeming agents. McClung's passion was rural women and her family. Women were often introduced to alcohol through the violence it induces in their menfolk. Social breakdown brought men and women into the temperance organizations. According to Nellie McClung, God created men and women in his likeness and gave them dominion over everything. This shows that by creation, it was a fair deal. There was no inequality, no favors, no special privileges. Where the inequality has crept in, it has nothing to do with God's plan. God is not to blame. Inequality has risen from men's superior physical strength, which is noticeable in the human family. Christ came to challenge the belief that physical strength is the dominant force in life. Christ was a true democrat. Men and women were all human beings before Christ, with souls to save and lives to live. According to John chapter 8, verse 1 to 11, Jesus showed equality when the Pharisees brought a woman to him to be stoned. Should women think? According to Proverbs of all nations, a woman, a spinel, a walnut tree, the more you beat them, the better they be. According to common law of England, a woman is not a person in matters of all rights and privileges, but she is a person in matters of pain and penalties. According to Election Act of the Dominion of Canada, no woman, no idiot, no lunatic or criminal shall vote. Nellie McClung was concerned whether women should continue to labor under unjust economic conditions, receive less pay for the same work than men, be submissive to unjust social laws based on Mosaic laws that allow women to be stoned and men allowed free. Should women just watch their children they brought into the world with great pain and weariness taken away from them to fight many-made battles, over which no woman has power? Should women entertain their sons dragged by many-made legislations and men protected evils, then it's not a mistake for women to think. Women should think they were encouraged to be foolish and then punished for that foolishness, which is hardly fair. Women. Are women peasants? In 1927, Nellie joined a group of prominent feminists to petition Parliament for an interpretation of the clause in the British North America Act dealing with the Senate appointments to give the judgment by deciding if women were peasants within the context of the Constitution. The Canadian Supreme Court decided that they were not in 1929, but its decision was reversed by the Privacy Council in October of 1929. Our soul, according to Nellie McClung, needs thorough cleaning to destroy all worn-out prejudices and beliefs which belong to a day gone by. For Nellie McClung, it was time to move from prejudices and beliefs which the world has outgrown and readjust. It's time for spiritual and mental house cleaning. Bold women were accused for killing chivalry by not staying home, doing housework, taking care of the children, and pleasing men, and have gone out for work, have gone to college side by side with men, sometimes taking the prizes from men. Chivalry cannot survive in such environment. The economic dependence of women is the greatest injustice that has been done to women and has worked the greatest injury to the race. The opinion of the world is that women should be beautiful at any cost. Women should be attractive to men and only be attractive. And only the attractive one has been the most successful one. Women are blamed for their dressing. They should wear something attractive to men for them to be competitive enough for marriage. Chivalry is a poor subject of justice. Let the women be given every weapon to defend themselves. Remove the stigma of political non-entity under which women have been placed. Women should be given a fair deal in a land of fair deal, and on this they can build their hope. Nellie McClung was against the prejudice, and she made public speeches on the injustice of the law. The visit of Sylvia Pankhurst of the British militant suffragists to Winnipeg in 1912 strengthens McClung's passion. In the same year, she joined in organizing the Winnipeg Political Equality League, one of the most enterprising and successful suffrage organizations in the Dominion. Its creation was a direct response to the plight of women factory workers as an urgent need for female factory inspectors. McClung led Manitoba's premier, Rodmond Roblin, through Winnipeg's sweet shops. She was considered as an annoying mosquito. The provincial liberals endorsed women's suffrage, and McClung was the outstanding campaigner. The movement spread into other provinces. It is believed there is no woman who has spoken to both political parties of the Dominion as she has spoken. In 1921, McClung was appointed a Methodist delegate to the World Ecumenical Congress, and the same year she ran successfully for Alberta legislature. During a 5-year term, she championed temperance, public health, mother's allowance, rural improvement, and women's rights. She favored birth control and support Alberta's Act for sterilization of the mentally unfit as a means of improving the nation's health. The demand for vote for Nellie McClung was a spiritual move for women to protect themselves from the evil laws of the society. Women have been doing benevolence work for some time, and they are still doing it. They have been good Samaritans for long, but now they decided to clean the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Nellie McClung was hoping for the time where women will be economically free, mentally and spiritually independent, from enough to refuse to have their food paid for by men. But women receive equal pay for each work and have all avenues of life opened to them and will have freedom to choose their own mates without shame or discrimination for that. Where both men and women are free in marriage decision, where love is the drive for both parties. The land of the fair deal. Nellie once said, "Every path we are making, many feet will follow. So let's lay them broader and straight and safe so that many feet may be saved from falling. Among the people of the world, in the years to come, we will ask no greater heritage for our country than to be known as the land of fair deal, where every race, color, and creed will be given exactly the same chance, where no person can exert influence to bring about his personal ends, where no men nor women past can ever rise upon to defeat them, where no crime goes unpunished, where every debt is paid, where no prejudice is justified, where honest toil will ensure an honest living, where the man who works receives the reward of his labor." Nellie McClung felt that there was an urgent need for transforming patriarchy, which is the inner structuring of sexism, racism, class exploitation, and colonialism in women's lives. Like other feminists, Nellie McClung's theology struggle was to free the scripture, church history, teachings, struggles, and from those ideas that perpetrates the notion of women's inferiority and blocks women from full realizing themselves as persons in the church and society. They denounce oppression and announce liberation, or the good news for all, focusing on full humanity of women. Even though Nellie McClung worked to advocate for the women, she couldn't maintain balance between her temperance and feminism when changing social standards and increase feminine independence allowed women to drink publicly, and Nellie was among many to be disappointed. She never gets to terms with women whose major function would be motherhood. She failed to provide modern women in permissive secular society with a satisfactory identity model due to an emphasis and the centrality of maternal experience. Nellie McClung's rural sympathesis made her analysis appear more irrelevant in an urban era. Her arguments were anti-masculine overtones which was claiming female moral superiority, which leads to sexual discrimination. Nellie McClung is criticized for supporting eugenics and Alberta's Sexual Sterilization Act of 1928. She publicly supported the sterilization of mental defectiveness. This ends my presentation.